Hi everyone, it's Dr. Ramani. Welcome back to this YouTube channel on narcissism and narcissistic relationships. Just a reminder, if you haven't been, I'd love it if you'd tune into my new podcast, which does something very different than this YouTube channel and actually gives me a chance to talk to people who are survivors of some very interesting narcissistic relationships that can shed light on your experience. You can get the link for that in the video notes, and then you can subscribe if you like it anywhere you get your podcasts. But let's talk about shame in the narcissistic relationship. We've talked about it so many ways, but today we're going to talk about sort of the four faces of shame within the narcissistic relationship. Now, I think many of you know that shame's a big thing in a narcissistic relationship, but there's sort of four ways it plays out, right? Shame is kind of the central tent pole of the narcissistic relationship. It's what keeps these relationships sort of propped up in the distorted, toxic way that they are. It's what keeps it going and going. Now, I've talked about narcissistic shame on this channel before, about the narcissistic person's sense of inadequacy, and that they externalize and project that on others and lash out and blah, blah, blah. I actually don't want it. I'm tired of it. I'm not talking about the narcissists and their shame. We've been there and done that. What I want to do today is talk about the four ways that the shame dynamic affects you if you are in a narcissistic relationship. Number one is the shame if the narcissistic person believes that they have been slighted. And when they believe that, then they attack. So this is the thin-skinned shame of the narcissistic relationship. You may make a passing comment, just a comment, on what they're wearing. You may talk about, like, say to them, hey, I thought that coworker of yours did a great job, or is a really nice person. You may give them some honest feedback on something. You may, goodness gracious, actually criticize them. You may actually compliment them, but not do it right. Whatever it is, if a narcissistic person perceives a slight or a criticism, then buckle up. It may even be that you didn't dress up enough for their birthday party or gush over them enough at their work thing. Whatever it is, because narcissistic people are so thin-skinned, if they perceive that you have slighted them, they will attack. They will either directly yell at you or start criticizing you or shaming you or become passive-aggressive and give you the silent treatment. But the challenge is that the things that you didn't even perceive as even a little bit critical are received as such. And this is what gives birth to the eggshell walking dynamic of all narcissistic relationships. Number two is the shame if they behave badly and you're hurt by the behavior and then they try to blame shift onto you. So, narcissistic people aren't psychotic, nor are they psychopathic. They actually do know good behavior from bad. They know what is a bad look. But their impulsivity and their entitlement mean that they don't always behave in a manner that they know is supposed to be better, but no, they can't be bothered. They don't have empathy, so they don't really care about that. But they do care when they look bad. So when they behave badly and it's seen by others, they don't like when that happens because it makes them look bad, and that means less validation for them, or worse. It may even result in criticism, and that takes us back to that whole thin-skinned thing. So let's just say they're rude to you publicly, or they shout at you, or cheat on you, or do something that's pretty universally judged as bad. And that gets found out by other people, and it impacts other people's regard or evaluation of the narcissist. Well, that doesn't work for them. They don't like it when people's judgment of them shifts into a negative direction, or that they are perceived as not being good, and so they get really angry at you. What? Yep. Again, they may lash out at you. They may even blame you for their bad behavior. They'll say, oh, whatever, mistake, it's your fault for this or that reason. So they feel shamed because they actually did something shameful. They don't care how it hurt you. People don't like their behavior and may even judge them. That means a loss of validation, which they also don't like. And since you are the person who is affected by their bad behavior, they take it out on you. Again, it may be silent treatment, it may be passive-aggressive stuff, but it's going to be blame shifting. And it feels like double jeopardy because you were hurt by their behavior, and now you're being punished for them feeling bad about themselves. Yeah. Number 3 is the shame you feel if you actually want to leave the relationship. People might say things like, are you sure about this? Do you really want to do this to your children? Or you're going to bring shame on your family? Or how could you quit such a good job? Or what kind of person cuts away from their family? You're so ungrateful. Those are just a sample. If you have other ones that you've been through, drop them in the comments. But when the day comes that you decide to end a narcissistic relationship, especially if it's a higher stakes relationship like a marriage or something, and it's been going on for a while, you can expect public shaming. People saying things to you like, are you sure? Did you think this through? Aren't there two sides to every story? You have been enduring narcissistic abuse, and most people will minimize it because it's just emotional abuse, and aren't relationships just difficult? And you are looked at sideways for not trying hard enough. You feel shamed for simply trying to save yourself, and that is an awful feeling. And number 4 is the shame you may experience if you want to stay in the relationship. You may feel ashamed that you are choosing to stay in something that is so unhealthy and invalidating. Maybe you hide how bad things are in your relationship so you don't have to endure the shame of staying in the relationship and feeling judged about it. People may ask you, how are you? And you'll say, oh, everything's great. We're great. Everyone's great. Meanwhile, your heart is breaking every day. But for whatever your reasons are, and they're your reasons, you stay. I get it. Maybe the mistreatment in your relationship keeps going, and people around you actually are noticing it and saying, oh, maybe you should go. Maybe you think like, oh, it's not that bad yet. But perhaps, I don't know, you've been repeatedly cheated on or publicly embarrassed or just being chronically treated badly. But you stay. Maybe you justify. You have your reasons. Maybe there are high stakes reasons. For example, you have children, but you feel that you have to stay until the children hit an age where custody might become less of an issue. Maybe you stay in a humiliating go-nowhere job, but it actually pays relatively well or has benefits. Or you remain in contact with an awful family. This shame is very personal. By and large, unless there's physical violence, and then people will wonder why you don't leave, which again becomes its own form of shaming. Staying in a toxic relationship and having to fake it can bring shame to the person who stays, so you can't win either way. Shame is human poison, and we are in an era where everyone is either shaming other people or living in shame themselves, or both. So it's no wonder that the world is unraveling as we speak. Shame is completely unavoidable in a narcissistic relationship. You're shamed if it's going well. You're shamed if it's going badly. You're shamed if you talk about anything but the weather. You're shamed if you leave, and you're shamed if you stay. The mantra of these relationships is, and always will be, you can't win. And when it comes to shame, honestly, it's where all roads lead in every narcissistic relationship. The challenge is, whatever way you turn, you're going to keep coming up against that shame wall. So good luck, and thanks again.